Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up tonight, the former health minister gives a higher figure for herd immunity. Denied, the police chief says no Labor Day motorcades, and a man shot by police off Gladstone Road. Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, COVID-19 vaccinations would have to double the amount predicted by Health Minister Renward Wells for the Bahamas to reach herd immunity, according to former Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands, who says the country is way off from that goal. Jasmine Brown reports.
Dr. Sands acknowledged the fact that thousands of people are showing up to get vaccinated for COVID-19. However, he says thousands more need to get a shot in the arm for the Bahamas to reach herd immunity.
I think we really need to get, in terms of adults, about 250,000 people vaccinated.
On Tuesday, Health Minister Renward Wells told the press that 120,000 people would have to receive the COVID-19 vaccine for the Bahamas to reach herd immunity. So far, however, the government has only secured enough vaccines for 60,000 people. According to the World Health Organization, herd immunity is the indirect protection from an infectious disease that happens when a population is immune either through vaccination or immunity developed through previous infection.
Around the world, I think everybody is trying to get to this very elusive threshold of roughly 80% of adults. If we do a back-of-the-napkin arithmetic calculation, we probably have about 300,000 adults. 80% of them, let's say 240,000 or so. So I think we're quite a ways off from that number. I'm not 100% sure whether the Minister of Health in his comments was suggesting an additional 120,000.
The Bahamas has received 87,200 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine since March. The Bahamas is expected to receive another 33,600 doses through COVAX this month. When it comes to obtaining more doses, Sands says he doesn't believe the Bahamas' difficulty in getting vaccines will last forever.
I believe that as the world supply increases and as the demand in the developed world decreases, that some opportunities will arise. And so perhaps we will have access to Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson, just to name a few. We'll probably also have access to Chinese or Sinopharm vaccine or Sputnik and others. That obviously comes with some brand identification issues that Bahamians are very brand conscious. So as time moves on, there will be new and other opportunities.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, amid reports that some unions were going ahead with plans to hold motorcades tomorrow in celebration of Labor Day, the Royal Bahamas Police Force released a statement warning, govern yourselves accordingly. Officials making it clear that no permission has been granted by the competent authority or the Commissioner of Police to hold such an event. Police urging people to follow COVID-19 safety protocols, warning that any person found in contravention may find themselves cited for the various offenses outlined in the emergency order. Well, union leaders were in meetings well into the afternoon discussing this latest development, with some members suggesting they may defy orders and proceed with their plans. An investigation has been launched into a police-involved shooting on Rocky Pine Road off Gladstone Road this afternoon. According to police, a man with a cutlass was shot. Police vehicles were used to block off the area as residents looked on. The man was transported to hospital by emergency medical services. His condition is unknown. The 11th grade government high school student who survived a violent altercation at the school last month is suffering from survivor's guilt and is now on suicide watch. Minister of Education Jeffrey Lloyd says the surviving teen was actually the intended target and not his classmate who was stabbed to death during the attack.
The survivor was the actual target of the attack and happened to escape. And that survivor is now under I may say so most respectfully, suicide watch, because he feels so bad that he, the intended victim, in a sense, his friend with whom he lived, and I understand cousin, gave his life.
Police say 2 GHS students were accosted by fellow students and stabbed on May 18th. 15-year-old Kem Paul died while another teen was transported to hospital.
We have 2 families that are now suffering. And there were homeroom teachers who were obviously close to these young men that themselves are going through certain traumatic reactions.
Director of Labor John Pinder speaking out once again on employers making it mandatory for employees to be vaccinated. He says that shouldn't happen. Kyle Joaquin has more.
The labor director says when it comes to employers making it mandatory for their employees to get vaccinated, he's kind of split on it, but he says technically they can't do that.
Technically, an employer does not have the right to unilaterally amend your contract, your wage contract, that employment contract, to force you now and say you must take this.
More and more businesses are making it mandatory for their employees to go and get the COVID-19 vaccine. Meanwhile, others are making employees foot the bill for weekly antigen testing if they don't want to get the vaccine.
Only in the sense of a new employment, I can now make that a part of any new employees that get coming in. You must bring me a negative test, or you must have the vaccination. They can do that. But those of us who have already been employed, because it's not mandatory by the government, we have the right to not take it and pay for the test every 5 days, which certainly can put a financial burden on you.
This past week, Labor Minister Dion Folk said his ministry is having active discussions about employers making vaccination mandatory for employees. He said employers have to engage with their employees, with their unions. The employers must sit down with the unions and have a discussion with them to devise the best way in the interest of the employer and the employee to go about this.
If they can save by having their staffers go and receive the vaccination for free, then they encourage them to do that. And if the employer doesn't want to do that, then the employee is saying, I'm afraid of this because this may have some effect on my body. The employer says, okay, fine. Keep bringing me the testing that prove that you're negative.
Some restaurants have already made vaccinations mandatory, especially for indoor dining. Earlier this week, Atlantis informed employees that come September 1st, they'll have to be fully vaccinated or pay weekly to be tested at Doctor's Hospital. Pinder says he understands both sides.
The vaccination is free. They see now how they can cut that cost by encouraging or trying to force their staffers to receive the vaccination. And so, while you have the government trying to encourage all Bahamians to do it, the employers are now trying to jump on board and say, you know what? And to ensure that our environment is safe and that tourists or people coming to visit us doesn't feel threatened by our employees or being able to be exposed to it. They're just trying to encourage that too.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
A beautiful start to a long holiday weekend. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks, Christina. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your first look at weather. Much improved conditions across the islands. Warm conditions outside our studios with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, 78 degrees outside our studios under partly cloudy skies. Your winds are out of the southeast, slight breeze at 6 knots, and your feels like temperature also in the mid to upper 70s. Satellite view, lots of sunshine, much improved conditions across the area as a dry air mass is moving in courtesy of a high pressure out in the open Atlantic, and that upper level low is weakening as we speak. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, the PLP leader pushes for a Labor Day motorcade, plus a former national athlete's battle with kidney failure. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
PLP leader Philip Davis slamming the competent authority for not allowing trade unions to host a motorcade on Labor Day. Bethany McDermott reports.
I say they should have their motorcade tomorrow.
A total disrespect and disregard for the labor movement is how PLP leader Philip Davis is describing the decision to prohibit the trade union movement from having a Labor Day motorcade on Friday.
This, no doubt, again, exposes this government's view of workers in this country. They are not friends of labor or workers.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic, the Sir Randall Fox Labor Day Parade was an annual event that brought thousands of workers together in a show of solidarity. A press statement from the Royal Bahamas Police Force on Thursday said that no permission was granted by the Commissioner of Police nor the competent authority to hold a motorcade this Friday. It warned that any person found in contravention may be cited for various offenses.
Today, when I made contact with the president of one of the one of the organizers for the march tomorrow, they indicated that they were still awaiting to hear from the competent authority.
He also questioned why the motorcade couldn't go on, given a number of safety protocols that could be put in place.
Why would we want to concern ourselves about a motorcade or a march if it is done within the context of protocols that have already been established and have been proven to save or proven to be successful against the spread? Permission should be granted.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Well, a former national soccer player is opening up about his battle with end-stage renal failure. Jared Higgs tells us the 28-year-old still has dreams of recovering and representing the country again.
It took a toll.
From a national athlete on top of his game and with a full sports career ahead of him, to dialysis visits and wondering if he would live, 28-year-old Christoph Wood says his battle with end-stage kidney failure has taken a huge toll.
In that instance, I didn't know if I would live to see another day, whether my nieces and nephews would watch me grow up, whether I'd have the opportunity to graduate college, whether I would be the person I am today.
Wood, a former national soccer and flag football player, was diagnosed with kidney failure back in 2017. After feeling lethargic and vomiting for weeks, Wood visited a doctor and eventually learned that he was born with 1.5 kidneys, and one of those kidneys had stopped working.
I didn't know this all my life. As you know, I've been playing sports my entire life, been on numerous national teams, and it was just a shocker to me.
Wood, who works as a teacher and soccer coach, says the past 4 years have been a roller coaster ride. He admits that some days he's discouraged, but his students and family motivate him to keep fighting.
I was able to actually graduate college. God allowed me to finish school and be able to touch lives. So I'm actually grateful for that.
The average dialysis patient is aged about 60 years old, so at 28, Wood knows he's in a peculiar situation. Going through his ordeal has exposed him to the difficult reality facing thousands of Bahamians on dialysis.
Kidney disease is killing people in the Bahamas. Thousands of people are on dialysis, and it's not pushed to the forefront. Everybody's going through something.
And of course, playing the game is so important to the 28-year-old as well. He can still play flag football. It's a lower intensity game, but his dream is to get back on the soccer field and play for the men's national team again. And there is hope for that return. A kidney transplant would cost roughly $400,000, and Wood has set up a GoFundMe to help raise those funds. In one day, it has received more than $10,000 in donations. Woods' older brother and father are matches for that kidney transplant. His brother, also his childhood idol, looks like the most likely candidate. He says his heart was warmed when he told him that he would do whatever it takes for him to get better. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Up next on Our News, Grand Bahama unions share their concerns, plus a legend in sports passes on. The details when Our News returns.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. As unions celebrate 60 years of Labor Day legislation, union leaders on Grand Bahama presented a long list of issues plaguing workers. Jillian Gray has that.
Solidarity forever. Standing in solidarity, labor unions on Grand Bahama say they're tired of unfair treatment of workers. Bahamas Hotel Managerial Association Vice President Kirkland Russell presented a long list of grievances facing the workforce in the second city. Chief among them was the problem of casual workers, which he says is just another form of slavery.
We believe that this type of work has no place in this country. We believe it is the rankest form of slave work that you could find. That comes from the ILO. We believe that it puts the worker in a baseless position, and it puts the country at a disadvantage economically.
But perhaps the most heartbreaking issue facing the country, he says, is the thousands of Bahamians still out of work while work permits are given to others.
Here it is. We have our local Bahamians unemployed, but you see buses after buses after buses after buses of foreign workers.
For Area Vice President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Quinton LaRota, his grievance is with principals who have been dealing a hard hand to teachers despite educators' hard work throughout the pandemic.
If you see a teacher and teachers take that upon themselves, that they're going to play that pivotal role and go the extra mile and be extraordinary in the delivery of education during the pandemic, why the hell you can harass them, but they come 5 minutes late and stand by a register for 8:51? Go from here. There's no place for that level of stupidity.
He's encouraging educators to make a personal choice as it relates to vaccinations.
I have no issues with who want to be vaccinated, but you will see a beast from me if you try to make it mandatory.
From promotions to wage increases, these unions say they have a long road ahead fighting for the general rights of workers. Now, the unions in Grand Bahama say they'll be taking these concerns to the street as they celebrate the Labor Day holiday on Friday with a motorcade and rally. Reporting for our news, I'm Jillian Gray.
And in sports tonight, the country mourning the loss of a sports legend. Marcellus Hall has that and more.
All right, thanks a lot, and welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. The face you're seeing behind me is of Peter Gilkett, a long-time and familiar face around sports and the Junkanoo community. Unfortunately, we have sad news to bring to you. He has passed away, found dead this morning in his vehicle, and will no longer be with us. The smile only in our memories from this point on, but certainly will be well remembered and well missed. Let's move on to some sporting news now, this time coming in from the world of baseball. Jazz Chisholm back on the field. Let's take a look and see exactly how he did. Back on the field for Jazz Chisholm and the Miami Marlins last night. Marlins taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Taking it out, top of the third, Jazz at the plate, and he takes a pitch, drives it deep to left field. That thing is going to leave the yard for a 2-run shot, his 6th of the season. Miami with a 4-1 lead early. That, however, would not hold up. Blue Jays come back. They score 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th. They get the win 6-5. Disappointing loss there for Miami. Jazz 1 for 5 with that home run. He had 2 RBIs and a run scored. Marlins now move on. They play the Pirates this evening. Over to some hoops news where Grand Bahama native Jonquel Jones has been named WNBA Player of the Month. She averaged 20.2 points, 10.5 rebounds per game during the period, while shooting 53% from the field. Currently the Sun, first in the Eastern Conference. They have a 7-2 win-loss record. They play their next game against the New York Liberty. That comes your way on Saturday. And there it is, your check on sports for you here this Thursday. Don't forget to tune in for the Locker Room tomorrow evening. We'll give you another great show coming your way right here on RTV. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Thanks, Marcellus. How businesses can prepare for hurricane season, that's on the other side of the break.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. Will there be rain this holiday weekend? Greg is back in the Weather Center with the details.
Thanks again, Christina, and welcome back, everybody, on this second look at our weather. Regional-wise, we take a look at our satellite view. That low-pressure system still spinning across the southeast Bahamas, generating some isolated showers and thunderstorms across that area. That low is weakening, but the high pressure in the Atlantic is actually suppressing this low towards the south. And that high is bringing in a dry air mass and some breezy conditions. We will continue to see those breezy conditions into the weekend. Much improved conditions for us here in the Bahamas. Boating conditions, if you're doing any of that tonight through tomorrow for the northwest Bahamas, southeast winds at 15 knots, seas 3 to 5 feet over the ocean, while in the central and southeastern islands, we have a caution flag posted for you guys down there. East to southeast winds, 15 to 20 knots, seas running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Tuesday. Beaching and boating weather, a bit of a challenge for the weekend, but do exercise caution. That's a look at the weather. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Well, hurricane season is here, and while the economy is slowly opening back up, the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation is encouraging businesses to prepare for the next disaster sooner rather than later.
Many businesses have indicated that they cannot afford insurance, so that means that they are definitely left exposed for dealing with damages that may result as a result of the hurricane.
The BCCEC is hosting a hurricane preparedness webinar next week to guide Bahamas business owners through the process, including making sure their insurance coverage is up to date. Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas. A new episode of On the Record starts right now.